Welcome to the weekly close live here on the Passive Income Podcast. Joseph, how are you doing this week?
Dave, it is the final workday, or I will put the close on the final workday before the 4/15 tax deadline here in the states. So I'm feeling pretty good. I got a lot out the door today, and if you call me on Monday, fair warning, can't help. Uh, we left the stress at the door when I clocked out today.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's always kind of weird. The tax deadline in the US is April 15th, and I believe in Canada is April 30th. Just another one of those slight little differences between Canada and the US. Not a huge difference, just basically Canada gets an extra 2 weeks. Or in my case, a few extra years, because I definitely do need to file taxes for a few years, but we won't even get into that. This is your weekly chance to plug anything you want, whether it's Marketplace or that beautiful pool in the background, while I get the closing numbers for the week brought up on the screen.
Yeah, shout out, thanks to you guys who tune into the weekly close. You've allowed me to buy all of this. Um, Actually probably will be buying a house in the next month or so, but it won't look anything like this. Um, that said, yeah, here's my weekly plug, marketplace.com, making investing easier, smarter, and more friendly for retail investors like you, me, Dave, and basically everyone who isn't an institution.
Yeah, definitely check out the Marketplace app. And oh, you're also supposed to plug the Passive Income
Oh,
Posse merch over there at Buy Investing Shirts. But let's just get right into the closing numbers for the
I,
week. I
you're
do
gonna
have it
kill
pulled
me.
up here. As usual, I'm on yahoofinance.ca. So just keep in mind, some of this will be in Canadian currency, some in USD. Right now, we're looking at the TSX Composite Index, the Toronto Stock Exchange, closing this week at 21,899.99. I am okay if we round that up to 21,900. So I did notice earlier this week too, I believe I'll switch over here to the 5 day, right about there. Tuesday, 22,361, which I believe may be an all-time high for the Toronto Stock Exchange. Please, someone in the chat correct me if I'm wrong, because
I'm
everyone
I'm
knows
gonna
I've been
go
wrong
I'm gonna
many
go with
times.
no because they have that 52, 22, 380 week range or 52 week range.
Oh, did I miss something there?
Yeah, on the 52 week range, you
Oh,
got 20,
22,
22,
380. Yeah, you're
380.
right. Where was I on the 5 day? Over here, I was on the 5 day
Tuesday,
at
22, 361 or something. It was very,
22,
very close.
333. Either way, it's been pretty solid, floating around the all-time highs like the rest of the stock market, the Toronto Stock Exchange, very much following the patterns of the US. And here we are over on the S&P 500 closing this week at 51.23. You do see some red here in the 1 day and 5 day charts. It's been a little bit of an up and down week in the markets, but that's to be expected. Again, we had that all-time high in the S&P. If you see right here, the 52 64. So down from the all-time high, but obviously that's to be expected, right? The Dow Jones, oh wow, the Dow's quite a bit down. The last few weeks we've been closing at closer to 39, if I'm not mistaken. So the
Yeah,
Dow Jones
you are
Industrial
spot on.
Average this week closing at 37,983. Oh my,
I
it looks like the Canadian dollar did a bit of a nosedive this week compared to our other weeks. Look at that. Below,
I,
when you go up here and see the out to four-digit decimal places, or sorry, out to four decimal places, below 73, 7.7262. So your US dollar going even further when you check out buy investing shirts, right?
save a dollar. Every penny counts.
Well, exactly. Crude oil. And here's where we get into, like I said, on yahoofinance.ca, you got to watch what currency you're uh, looking at things in. This is in USD, crude oil at 85.45 closing the week. And I'm sure that's per barrel, if I'm not mistaken. Bitcoin never closes. This is obviously in Canadian dollars at 92,124. And of course, that could change at any given moment. You know what I got looking at today, actually, and I thought we should add this to the weekly close live. Why I'm not, I don't think we've talked about gold in the past, but and again, back to USD. So really, watch when you're on YahooFinance.ca. Really watch what currency you're looking at numbers in. Gold closing the week at $2,360.20. I'm sure that's per ounce. That's how gold is generally measured. And
And that's
skipping over to the
all-time
Nasdaq
highs.
Composite. Sorry, what's that, Joseph?
I would say that gold's been at all-time highs lately. I don't know how we kept missing it this long.
Right, yeah, yeah. So, like I said, skipping over to the Nasdaq Composite, closing the week at 16,175, and again USD. So, just keep, just be aware of what currency you might be looking at things in when you're on YahooFinance.ca. Uh, and again, another currency, the Great British Pound. We're going to skip over across to the pond to our friends in Great Britain, United Kingdom, England, and closing this week at 7,995, just off of their all-time high of slightly over 8,000. And of course, Akito, our one Japanese viewer, he finally let me know his name, Akito, closing the week in Japanese yen, the Nikkei, at 39,525.
See,
And just for
the
fun,
problem I
because
have
like,
is that
sorry, go
real?
ahead.
Did you actually meet our one Japanese viewer, or are you making that up?
I'm going to leave that for you to discuss internally with yourself.
All right. Um, yeah, that's probably a good place to leave it. I can get behind that.
Yeah, so thank you, Akito, for joining the live every week here. That one Japanese viewer. Uh, and actually, Saturday morning, as we've pointed out in the past, Saturday morning for our viewer in Japan. And
If you're
so,
real,
uh,
hello.
we are going to jump into the closing numbers for the week. I do not have the graphic for Monday. Uh, Dairy, you know who you are. Dairy, you did not post a graphic on Monday, so I was not able to quote unquote borrow it from you, aka
Dairy
steal.
Dairy did us a favor. I've got the Nasdaq earnings calendar pulled up, and like I guarantee it's nothing. None of these companies are profitable for one, and for two, average market cap was like 20 million, maybe even only 15. So we're not. I can guarantee, unless there's a hardcore enterprises down the road from you, neither of us have heard of any of these companies.
Right. So if you're okay with that, we'll skip right along into Wednesday because, or sorry, Tuesday. I do know how the days of the week work. We'll skip into Tuesday. I know we're both really excited to get to Thursday because Thursday
Yes,
we will be talking about Lovesack and Hooker.
we
But
will.
let's start the week. I'm already. I'm already. We'll get to Tuesday, and on Tuesday, a few interesting things. The first thing I notice right off the top is Tilray Brands or Tilray Company, which is a marijuana company. I believe, well, I'm quite sure they are a Canadian company trading on the TSX, and I believe they also trade in New York as well. But and of course, then after close on Tuesday, WD-40. Everyone loves WD-40. Man, I use that stuff all the time. So yeah, and your perfect chart. Like, does it move? No. Is it supposed to move? Yes.
Yep. I forgot about the flow chart. Yeah. WD-40 is for things that should move that don't. Duct tape is for things that do move that shouldn't.
That's exactly right. So, anyways, jump into it, Joseph. Anything from Tuesday before or after close that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I'll hit WD-40 real quick, which but the stock was on the move. Came in slightly over EPS, $1.14 a share, over $1.11 expected. I gotta say, I was quite surprised to see this week that WD-40 was publicly traded because, like, I'm pretty sure that like the WD-40 that my grandpa used is the same one my dad uses, the same one that I use. I don't
The
know how
can has
much.
never changed.
Yeah,
The can has never
exactly.
changed.
Like it's a
I
great
should have
product.
like I've probably got a bunch of cans out in my garage. I should have probably brought some in just for a prop. Just say, hey, here's a can of not that I'm sure everyone knows what a can of WD-40 looks
Oh
like.
yeah. If you don't check any hardware store, I promise you it's not hard to find. Like it's a great product. It will never go out of style. And like I don't know of any competitors to them at all. But I don't know. Am I wrong in saying somebody down in the comments let me know, is WD-40 a one-trick pony? Because I feel like they are. And my question is, how much can you innovate the WD-40 department? Or
Right.
am I totally wrong and WD-40 is actually like a fashion brand and Dave and I are just Home Depot pilled?
That's possible. There are a few other I guess competitors, but they're nowhere close. I think there's one called Jigaloo, which is like a very similar
That's
type of thing that
that's funnier than Love Sack and Hooker.
no, it isn't. Definitely it isn't. Um, yeah, actually, that's a great question. Does WD-40 make any other products other than WD-40? Because you would think if they're a publicly traded company, how do you like, that would be like McDonald's only selling cheeseburgers. It's like, no, we no longer sell Big Macs and quarter pounders and filet of fish. We only sell cheeseburgers, right? Like,
So I'm on their official website, which is conveniently WD40.com.
as it should
It's
be.
it is just WD-40 in different sizes. Like you've got the bottle, you've got a 5 gallon tub, you've got the
Oh,
easy spray, WD-40 on the go, WD-40 heavy duty. It's all just WD-40.
wow. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
There we are with WD-40.
good for them
Are
though.
we done with Tuesday? Are we getting into Wednesday already?
I am done with Tuesday. I didn't have much else to say.
Okay, Wednesday, I do want to personally congratulate you for pushing Delta shares up.
I did. You are welcome. Actually, I don't know how Delta performed this week. I forgot to check. Yeah, I for anyone who didn't see my comment on Dave's tweet, I I'll just go ahead full spoiler. Doing a video, going to a conference with the marketplace guys in San Francisco in a couple weeks, and Delta's getting me there and back. And I wanted a personal congratulation on the earnings call. Actually, Delta's getting me there to my parents' house and back. I booked 3 Delta flights this week.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and not I listened in a little bit. Not one word, not one thank you. But either way, back to Delta. They did beat EPS for
Unreal that they would not thank you once on that earnings call. 3 flights in 1 week, you would think they would
you would
be
think they did give
you
me a
would think.
frequent flyer number, so I have that now. Anyone who knows me, I don't fly like ever. I am that American who will drive 14 hours. Um, but someone in Europe just fainted. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, I guess I have Delta miles now. Thanks, guys. I hope Delta, if you're watching, do me well. This will be my first ever Delta flight, so let's do me good. Um,
And if I'm not mistaken, I could be. Actually, it might be American Airlines that are part of the Star Alliance. Because the Star Alliance, I know Air Canada is part of the Star Alliance, so I've flown with certain American airlines simply because I've booked through Air Canada, then had a flight going to overseas somewhere, and then gotten onto a Star Alliance partner, and whether that's Delta or American Airlines or whoever.
I think it's United based on the
Oh,
based on
okay. So
Google.
yeah, another one that I didn't even think of when I was talking about it.
Yeah, United is the only American-based airline that's part of the Star Alliance.
All right, fair enough.
Either way, back to Delta. They did beat EPS 45 cents a share, over 36 share expected. Shares were up this week. I did not put in my notes how much. Yeah, about 2%. Peaked out at about 8% this week before. I think really just market pressures brought them down with like the S&P 500 little meltdown today. But that
Right.
said, the interesting thing about Delta's earnings call was when you listen to like what's driving their revenue right now, their top line more than anything else, it's actually business travel. Business travel is strong, whereas consumer travel isn't still quite back to pre-pandemic levels. They expect, I mean, it's been picking up, kind of like when we talked about Carnival and Norwegian Cruise Lines a few weeks back. It's slowly edging back up, but yeah, business travel is still the bulk of Delta's revenue.
Now, overall, what do you think about airlines as an investment? Just overall, whether it's Delta, United, American. There's a few here in Canada that are publicly traded as well, and I'm sure there's others that are. I'm sure to a key to our Japanese viewer, like there's probably some of those Asian airlines that are on the Nikkei or Hang Seng or whatever. And what do you think of investing in airlines just as a general investment?
Honestly, I don't know. If you'd asked me that about 4 years ago, I would have said hell yes. But ever since 2020 hit, I've kind of been in like a weird spot with that, and I haven't really taken the. I mean, granted, I haven't done a deep dive in 4 5 years now, but
Right,
when COVID hit and we all got the numbers when they were all taking loans to try and stay afloat because nobody was or really could travel for so long, and we realized that the airlines and the air travel is just a front to sell credit card points. Like most of your like you look at you take like Delta for example, or Southwest is another great example of this. Sorry, Dave, I don't think you have them in Canada. Um, you asked like you looked at like what they put up as collateral for their loans, and it was these other businesses they own that monitors and sell the credit cards and the credit card points. And as you suddenly got to look under the hood, you realized Delta flying planes isn't profitable.
right,
But Delta selling credit card points and credit card miles are insanely profitable. The flights are just a cover up to sell the credit card points.
right.
And if you're okay with that, then I mean, hey, go for it. If you're investing in Delta, you're investing in both the flight and the credit card model. But if you've thought of them as a pure play transportation stock, I'd say I compare to another, but I'm kind of coming up blank. Unless like Amtrak is publicly traded, they're not.
Yeah,
And I've honestly, and I hate to say it because it's been 4 years now, I've had the time, never really reconciled how I felt about that.
yeah. And honestly, just to your point, I'm actually right now in the process of like thinking, and this is going back to the Canadian comparison. So the points program for Air Canada is called Aeroplan, and I'm like, I think I'm going to sign up for an Aeroplan credit card just to get the bonus points, right? Like,
I mean, you and I are both on X all the time. We know several people who get some nice stuff. I think like Accidentally Retired recently tweeted about it. If you know him, AR, great follow,
yeah,
highly recommend. Also, just a good guy. Um, yeah, if you're responsible with the car, those points and those miles can be kind of nice.
yeah, yeah,
I say as someone who just booked 3 Delta flights and paid full price for all 3 of them. So
yeah. Well, and that's what exactly what I'm thinking is like, oh, I do want to. There's a few places I want to go, in the whether it's this upcoming few months or whenever, and I really like. Damn, I should have been collecting these points for a few years now because I haven't been at. I renewed my passport in 2017. I have not left Canada since, so it's like I pretty much just need to use my passport just to make sure it works at this point.
see, again, I'm going to pull that stereotypical American card and tell you that I don't have a passport.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
It's one of those I know I need to go get it. I just haven't done it yet.
So that's a lot of talk about airlines, airline
Yes.
points, and Delta, I guess in general. There, Wednesday before open applied blockchain. I don't know if you have any thoughts there. Just another, probably what is that? Another blockchain, another Bitcoin ETF or something? Who knows?
Well, I
Anything else
mean,
you have for before or after on Wednesday?
so I guess just kind of I googled it while we were sitting here. Applied blockchain is interesting because when I Google them, the name Applied Digital is the name that comes up, but they are data centers that provide computing power. Which I mean, going into the little bit that I do know about blockchain, um, those data centers are very commonly used by Bitcoin miners who don't want to pay for their own rig. But
Right.
yeah, they are wildly unprofitable.
Of course they are. Okay, let's skip the rest of Wednesday because everybody watching, they're all here for these
They
two
are.
reasons this week. And you know what those two reasons are?
I do.
Love
I'm. I,
Sack,
I'm gonna
Love
let you do.
Sack and Hooker. But before we get into Love Sack and Hooker, you see them here on
I
Thursday. There's
can.
Love Sack. There's Hooker. Oh my God. We do have to talk about some of the top things here. That's really weird, right? Nothing after close on Thursday, but okay, before open on Thursday, Constellation Brands. I know you had some thoughts there. I'm not sure if you have anything to say about CarMax, Fastenal, and then we will go in depth into Love Sack and Hooker because that's why everyone is here this week.
I mean, hey, better than the last couple weeks. At least we have something to talk about this week. Yeah, to start at the top there, Constellation Brands. That's not important. Constellation Brands. I'm a big fan personally. If I had to invest in one stock based solely on taste, it would be Constellation Brands. Anyone who doesn't know, Constellation is a Mexican-based brewery, most famous for Corona and Modelo. And if you ever want to get on my good side, Modelo Negra is a very easy way to do it. Just saying.
Send Joseph a six pack.
I would happily accept.
You can DM me. I have his address.
I forgot you really. Yeah. So if anyone randomly knocks on the door, I'll know it's Dave. But yeah, that's it.
and
Constellation Brands did very, very slightly beat earnings, 226 actual over 208 expected. I mean, it's a beer company. Stock's down 12% on the week. They're very much in the consumer consumer discretionary market.
yeah,
Um,
you don't need to buy beer every week, but
yeah.
man, do you ever like to buy beer every week? Definitely consumer discretionary, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. So like anytime we see a bad outlook on the U.S. economy or the U.S. dollar or especially discretionary spending available to U.S. consumers, it's gonna look bad for the beer company. But actually, I am pulled up on the wrong stocks. I may be talking yeah. Stocks down about 1% on the week. Again, it's a beer company. I mean, if you look at the model of most of these alcohol companies, like 80-90% of sales come from like 1% of the market.
From Dave.
Well,
beer sales come from
you said it,
me
not
primarily.
Me. They're yeah, we're kind of going back to like WD-40. I mean, how you got something pretty good going. You've got a pretty good market that will continue buying your product. You just keep chugging along. Not much really changes.
Yeah, and CarMax also there on Thursday. I don't know if I honestly I didn't even know until I saw this that CarMax was a publicly traded company.
Somebody, I think it might have been Charter Blue Collar Investments, tweeted about them this week, and that's how I figured it out. I think they slightly missed EPS. I wrote down they're down about 12% this week. But
that seems to be the sentiment for the entire market, though. Is like everyone was down like a little bit this week, and that's just kind of part of the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down. This was by the end of the week, like you were actually just saying about Constellation Brands down. What did you say, 1 or 1.5%?
Yeah,
and that's just kind of par for the course this week. Is the majority of companies were off a few percent. So, to me, that's nothing to sweat over, right?
No, I mean, of course, there are good companies and bad companies, but yeah, I mean, the economic outlook in the U.S. is kind of dicey right now. And whereas the stock market and the economy aren't one in one, they are definitely quite correlated.
Right.
Also,
Fastenal. I don't think you had much to say about Fastenal. I do work with them in my day-to-day Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. Fastenal is an amazing company. I'm not sure if you have their uh, numbers or earnings for the week, but I guess just from my personal experience and working with them and working with account representatives and dealing with them on a business to business level, yeah, Fastenal is a fantastic company. So, and I guess with that said, here we are. Here we are finally. What everyone what everyone, including me, what everyone, including me, has tuned in for this week. Lovesack and Hooker. I can't stop laughing. Like, who names these companies? How did you come up with your name of Lovesack?
Well, now I got to look that up.
Okay, like anyone in the chat, is anybody with me here? Like, please come on. Like, Lovesack and Hooker, you see them right there. They're right in the middle of the screen.
So,
Am I just like, am I just
so
still that
you're
immature that I'm like a 50-year-old teenager that's like just laughing at Lovesack and Hooker?
I've seen you and Sam's new YouTube channel, and the answer is yes. But that said, okay, so
Good point, great point,
here
actually.
here's somewhat the story. The current CEO and founder Sean Nelson was creating custom bean bags in his parents' basement in 1995 that they called sacks.
So are these like hacky sacks?
No. They're like, according to this, the first product was an 8-foot wide beanbag chair.
Okay.
And so they still call basically everything they do now sacks. And I guess they loved those sacks.
Okay.
That's all I got. But yeah, Lovesack. So I actually had to look this up because I've never heard of the company. They are a furniture company specializing in some type of couch. Somebody out there knows. I don't. I'm sorry that I'm not big into the couch market. They did beat EPS, $1.92 share estimated versus $1.82 a share actual. Stock's down like 21, 22% this week. Let's see here. They even out a little bit. Stock's down 20% this week. And again, I'm going to go back to what Dave and I have talked about quite a bit. Is Lovesack a bad company? Probably not. However, people, when there's a housing crisis, or not, excuse me, a housing crisis, there's a financial crisis, people aren't exactly buying couches.
Right.
Especially expensive high-end couches.
Well, definitely the next time I'm literally now considering going to a furniture store this weekend just to ask, like, the salesperson on the floor. I'd really like to see a Lovesack couch, or do you have a Lovesack chair, or do you have anything here made by Lovesack?
Who knows? I mean, hey, like, yeah, give us a rating. Let us know if it's any good.
Yeah, it would. That okay. And I just thought, it just happened to be on the same day, Lovesack and Hooker. As soon as I saw that, it was like, obviously, I've been laughing about this ever since Thursday morning, right?
I mean, you may get a laugh out of this. My dad gets a laugh out of this every time he visits, so you might as well. They're here at Greenville, North Carolina, where I live, same place as Jimmy Beast. One of the main roads going through our town is Hooker Road.
Okay.
That is also the road where all the sex shops in town are at.
Of course they are, because where else would they go?
there's a pretty sizable Adam and Eve store where Hooker Road dead ends into Greenville Boulevard.
Okay. That's
so we'll
an
add that
interesting
in.
Side note.
Yeah. Back into the Hooker Furnishings Corporation. Who's another furniture maker? I'm gonna go on.
What?
Yeah, I
There's
know,
no possible
right?
way that they're both furniture companies. What are you talking about?
See, I feel like Lovesack I had like kind of heard of before, but Hooker was totally new. From the way I'm reading about them, they're actually founded in 1924. So they've been around.
Jeez, that's
quite
100
a bit.
years ago.
It was. Good job. Quick math.
That's literally 100 years ago.
But like from the way at least their description is written on like Robinhood, it sounds like they make a lot of like the hipster type furniture nowadays. Again, I didn't check their website. I could be totally wrong about that. Once again, though, I don't know what their estimated EPS was, but they are profitable. It came in about 6 cents a share, which I guess good for them. Stock's down 21% this week, just like Lovesac was, despite profitable EPS. And again, I didn't listen to the call. I didn't dive deep into the call, but I think at least a solid portion of this is the consumer discretionary entire GICS is going to be hit hard anytime discretionary income is potentially at risk. If we are potentially looking at a recession or a cash crisis, or maybe you might have heard this before, 400% inflation over what was expected, people aren't spending as much money.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's been a very entertaining segment for Thursday with Lovesack and Hooker. I do know that you have a hard cutoff time, but there's a lot to get to here on Friday with all of the major U.S. banks. You have your J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, and Citi. That's Citibank, right? That's a bank as well.
Yep. Spot on.
So dive into it. Everything you want to talk about on today's earnings for the major U.S. banks.
I've got a few things, and unfortunately, I only have about 3 of these to talk about because they all reported pre-market, but at the time of me doing the marketplace video this morning, only 3 of them had reported so far. First up, JP Morgan beat EPS, came in at $4.44 a share over $3.82 expected. Revenue is up 9% year over year since first quarter 2023. Stock still down on the day, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier. Jamie, I think it's Dimon, D-I-M-O-N, CEO of JP Morgan, who's been making headlines quite a lot lately, gave a very rocky outlook for the U.S. consumer, U.S. spending, and overall bank profit, especially as CPI estimates came in overestimate, meaning U.S. policymakers are probably going to keep rates high, and as we all know, when rates are high, that is bad for banks' bottom line. Moving on then, Wells Fargo, my personal favorite in the banking industry, BDPS, dollar share expected, $1.20 a share actual. Biggest thing that I found pretty cool with Wells Fargo, they did see a slight decrease in revenue year over year, but their revenue from interest payments, meaning revenue paid to them from like loans they give, mortgages, car loans, credit cards, whatever, up 8% year over year, which kind of makes sense. Higher interest rates, people are paying more interest. And then the last one I got, BlackRock, one of the world's largest asset managers. I think they hit, I believe it was like 1.5 or made 2.5 trillion in assets under management, officially announced in this morning's earnings call. One of the largest by AUM in the U.S. I know that for a fact. EPS, $9.32 a share expected, came in at $9.81 a share, which, almost $10 a share EPS for the quarter. Ridiculous. Ridiculously profitable company. What I thought was kind of notable, though, BlackRock is one of the ones who launched a Bitcoin ETF, but they also hold God knows how many other mutual funds and ETFs. And at one point, they were even managing multiple bond funds for the U.S. government, but that's another talk. Either way, those management fees for the first quarter 2024, Dave, you want to take a guess? Taking that as a no, then. 204.
Sorry, no, you cut out there for what you said.
I said one of BlackRock's main revenue is from asset management fees from ETFs and mutual funds. You want to guess how much those fees were in the first quarter?
Oh, I'm sure it's astronomical.
It sure is. It's a record, actually.
Okay. Are you going to tell us?
Yeah, $204 million.
Wow.
Off asset management fees, primarily ETF mutual fund fees. Unfortunately, I have no idea how Progressive, Citigroup, or State Street did. Again, I'm going to assume they went down. Going back to my Jamie Dimon talk, JP Morgan is the largest bank in the U.S. by market cap. And he has been the CEO, I believe, for a very long time now. When he talks, it carries a lot of weight on the market, on the U.S. consumer. I mean, hop on Unusual Whales, one of my favorite Twitter accounts, and just search Jamie over the last month, and you'll find at least 10, 15 times of him saying something. People, when he talks, people listen.
So, is BlackRock the evil empire that everyone makes it out to be?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so because that is actually, you know what, I'm gonna get into that for a second. That's a talk that consistently makes me angry. While you pull up the coin market cap, uh, everyone calls out BlackRock and Vanguard for the same thing, for owning shares of like every company in the world. Therefore, they own every company in the world. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say they don't have some say. I mean, is that big of an asset manager? I mean, come on. Anyone who's claiming that BlackRock owns the world because they own stocks just doesn't understand how stocks and shares work.
Right. I think
That's
that's a
like
very fair point. Right?
that's like saying Apple should give me a W-2 because I have a dividend or something. You know, I'm an employee because I own. Maybe not an apples to apples, but still, if you're making claims like that, you just don't understand how this works.
Yeah. Okay, as you mentioned, yeah, one of the things we like to do here just for fun, even though we call this the weekly close live, um, Bitcoin never closes, and here it is, pulled up on Coin Market Cap in US dollars. I did obviously mention it earlier in Canadian dollars, but right now, Bitcoin trading at 66,899 USD. And man, if I had taken my own advice just 2 weeks ago and sold at 72,000 or 71,000, bought back at 65,000, sold again at 70,000, bought back at 66,000. Just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, you could just be making an absolute killing on Bitcoin. Um, Not financial advice, but man, I wish I was smart enough to take my own advice on that one.
I mean, hey,
And I
you win
just
some, you
wasn't. I
lose
just
some.
haven't done it. Sorry, what was that?
I say you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. No, I think over this past month or so, Bitcoin has been probably one of the best swing trades going. Where, like I
Oh
just
yeah, for
mentioned,
sure.
you could keep selling it at every time it goes over 70, 71, you could sell it, and every time it goes down to 66, you could buy it back again. And I really don't know why I haven't been doing this because I literally tweeted this at that exact same scenario out about what was that, maybe 3, 4 weeks ago, and I'm kicking myself for right now for not doing it. But I'll tell you why I haven't done it, because the day I sell it at 72 is the day that it goes up to 85. Right? Like,
Everyone spam in the chat. Tell Dave to sell right now, live on the weekly close.
well, I'm not
Um,
selling at 66 when I know but tomorrow or Sunday is going to be at 70 again, right? Or Monday it'll be back at 71 or 72.
I was like, you know, I've never actually watched Bitcoin's price move over the weekend. That'd be an interesting case study on, is Bitcoin less volatile on the weekends. I don't know. That would be a very interesting thing to look at, though.
Yeah, it is. Like, Bitcoin is still volatile
Oh yeah,
24/7, whether it's Saturday, Sunday. I think there is probably a little less movement on the weekends because, traders do tend to, try to keep to that Monday to Friday schedule. But there are a lot of Bitcoin traders that, and of course it's very global too, right? So,
yeah,
time zones, somebody, if there's a whale in Australia or Japan, or hi Akito, are you a
yeah,
Bitcoin whale? That decides to sell at, it's whatever, 1 a.m. or 11 p.m. here, but it's the middle of the day on that side of the planet. So yeah, Bitcoin is very, very interesting for a few different reasons. Well, Joseph, I think we
yep.
accomplished the goal this week of
Mhm.
getting you out the door early, because I know you have other commitments this evening. I do want to
Unfortunately,
thank you again this week for joining me as my co-host here on the Weekly Close Live. I
of
do want to
course.
quickly say that over there at buyinvestingshirts.com, you can receive a free Passive Income Posse, turn that cash register around coffee mug with any purchase over 100 Canadian dollars before taxes and shipping at buyinvestingshirts.com. Use code word posse for a 5% discount on your purchase. Link in the description. Joseph, how much is 100 Canadian dollars this week?
$72.56 USD.
Yeah, it was somewhere right around there. Yeah, it was 72 and change. So, um, for all you Americans out there, head over and get yourself a great deal on a ball cap, a hoodie, some other great merch, and then get yourself a free coffee mug.
You're gonna hate me. I made coffee specifically for this, and I'm pretty sure it's sitting on my Keurig still.
Yeah. Honestly, I did the same thing this morning, which was really weird for me. Like, my morning routine. First thing I do is I get up and start making coffee, and
Yep.
and then I like literally got doing a few other things like feeding the dog and taking the dog outside and all that, and I literally forgot about my coffee. I'm like, and I never do that. Like usually coffee is like at 6:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. That's like my number one goal is get that coffee into me, right?
I feel that. I 100% feel that.
Awesome. So again, I think, and if I'm not mistaken, next week is where we start to dig back into like the earnings season, where we get into some more of the more popular companies. We'll have a lot more to talk about next Friday here on the Weekly Close Live. So
Next
thank
week
you
we're
everyone for joining us this week, and be sure to come back next week because I know there's a lot more of the more uh, I guess just call them the more popular companies. The
I I'm just gonna say now, everybody at home, block off at least 2 hours next week because I'm not gonna shut up.
fair enough,
Well,
fair enough.
it is banger after banger after banger next week. Starts on Monday and it runs through Friday.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely come back and check that out. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. I appreciate all the subscribers so far. If you're watching on any of the other platforms, go ahead and click that follow button. Be sure to follow Joseph on Twitter as well. And yeah, thank you everyone so much. And we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, thank you for watching.